Alright boys, it is finally time. We are packed for Nationals. I am taking the Dark Magician hoodie, got a rep from my boys Fine Chaos. Just one more thing that we need. Subscribe. 3 months ago, we declared war on the meta. Ever since, we've been in the lab cooking up the most competitive Red Dragon Archfiend build to finally get the deck's first ever Tier 2 and 3 event tops. Unfortunately, since Blazing Dominion's release, the UK hasn't actually had any Tier 2 or 3 events to top. Until now. We built our Elf Note Red Dragon Archfiend deck from the ground up, figured out all the combos on our own, and now it's time to head out and finally get a taste of some cardboard competition. Let's go to UK Nationals. Yeah, if only. I had to spend 7 hours on public transport, which is one of my least favorite things, but I did make friends with a pigeon at the local train station. After a full day of travel, we finally made it to Birmingham, and like most places in England, absolute shithole. Nah, I'm just kidding. Our accommodation was in Coventry, and there were actually some nice things to go and see. I was, however, the last to arrive on Thursday, so while everyone was already out at Spoons, I got myself a little pizza from the Sainsbury's, made myself at home, and then tucked in for the night. Now, you would think the day before a massive event with deck lists needing submitted by 7 PM that evening, you would be testing all day, theorying out matchups, and finalizing your non-engine. That probably would be a good idea. But you're on a trip with the boys, that doesn't happen very often, so why not instead just go out and have a good time? And that is exactly what we did.
Bortle here, who have we got?
My name is Hunter. I played Orcus Sky Striker and I went XO at Nationals. I topped.
Today's Thursday.
Huh?
Today's Thursday, right?
Well, it's predictions. That's what it is.
Okay, great. Okay, we'll hit you back tomorrow and see what's up.
Yeah, of course.
All right, Bortle Nation out.
It is officially day 1 of UK Nationals. Typically with big events, I won't get much sleep the night before, but this event is different. I got a nice sleep, it was an early bedtime, we are ready. My entry packs were dog shit, but Cam managed to pull a Starlight Harmonia, the lucky fuck. While it was an absolute rush the night before getting our deck list submitted, I am happy enough with the list, so let's get into our Nationals report.
Good morning, duelists. We are here for UK Nationals 2026 live from Birmingham.
This actually ended up being the largest UK Nationals we've ever had, I believe, with 1,410 players. This means we're going to have 14 rounds of Swiss, 9 on day 1 and then 5 on day 2 before cutting to the top 8. Going by previous tournament structures, the top cut for a 1,400 player event would be top 32. So that's the goal, and for that you need a minimum record of X3 across 14 rounds. However, for any form of additional prizing, you need to make the top 128. It's not going to be easy, but let's do it. Our first matchup of the morning. You can get paired against anyone at this stage, and you're really hoping for like an easy matchup, something you can just warm your brain up to. No, we lose a dice roll against Branded. They're able to set up just fine, and our hand clearly just isn't good enough to break through the board, so we lose game 1. We have trained for this though. Game 2 going first, we know most Branded players are on board breakers and the like, so we triple hand drip, we just win the game. Easy claps. Game 3 going second against Branded post side is typically a pretty easy matchup because most of our non-engine just clears their interruptions. I think they high spirits pitch Dogmatica Ecclesia to get to Walbaz, and then in response to the Walbaz we hit them with a Fuelos. They just summon the Dogma Ecclesia back from the graveyard, search for Fallen into Virtuous, set 4 in pass, but we have Duster and Lightning Storm in hand. So the first match of the day, despite losing the dice roll and game 1, goes to us, which is a very nice start. Round 2 we get the dreaded Cool Toon matchup, a matchup we want to avoid because it's the most difficult matchup to play, but we do win the dice roll. Going first, we open Ash, Droll plus combo, however, unfortunately, we do get hand trapped out of the game, and then Ash plus Droll just isn't enough to stop them. Game 2, we attempt to go first again, and this time all we have to push through is an Ash Blossom, which is pretty easy. We're able to set up our combo and win the game. Game 3 going second, however, we open 3 Lucina, Magna, and a Fallen in the Virtuous. Virtuous. None of this actually stops our opponent from playing, so they're able to set up the full board, and this man summons a Vision Resonator off of Cooltoon Q. What is happening, man? Anyway, we end up getting Gravity Collapsed as well, which is literally just a nail in the coffin. We were already losing without it. But yeah, absolutely destroyed in that game 3, and it turns out he's playing a Vision Resonator and a King's Resonance package in Cooltoon to play around Super Poly. He was also playing Abyss in the extra deck. He synchros into it with the Zalin, so crazy tech there. Shout out to Toby, what a guy. Later on in the tournament, he also then just gave me a free Ultimate Rare Red Dragon Archfiend, which just looks absolutely incredible. So Toby, if you see this, thank you so much, man. Round 3, we lose the dice roll against Archmage, which is a very scary matchup, especially when you lose the dice roll, because that deck is able to just put up crazy boards that even Sphere Mode sometimes isn't enough. We don't draw any non-engine, so I just wait for him to finish his combo to see if there's any extra spice in there, and then we just immediately scoop. Game 2, going first, Archmage, again, is a board breaker deck, so even though we do get hit with an Ash Blossom, we're able to combo through that and rip 3 more cards from their hand. It's just, yeah, just easy game 2. Game 3, our opponent has a little bit of a mid-hand where they have to play kind of awkwardly, and we Ash the field spell searching for Grifflair, which seems to shut them down a little bit. They're still able to end on a board with Deactorus and Finmel both live, however, we force a Deactorus with Fallen and the Virtuous, and then we're able to Talents, take the Finmel, and combo for free. I did make a slight mistake of going Chainlink 1 Elf Note Power Patron, Chainlink 2 Crimson King, while my opponent had Nervado in scale. They could have negated the Crimson King with their scaled Nervado there. I don't think it would have changed the game, but they didn't realize they could do that. I did tell them after, but yeah, we win round 3. Let's go. Round 4, we lose the dice roll to another Branded, and once again, we lose game 1. Game 2, going first, we go through our combo, ripping 2 cards with Omega, and they're about to scoop, but then they decide they want to see the rest of the combo, so we play it out, and the third card I end up banishing from their hand on their turn with Tenia is a Tri-Brigade Mercurier. This turns everything around. Instead of it being an auto win for me, we end up playing a game of Yu-Gi-Oh, and it does take a while, but we eventually get the win. Game 3, I can't really remember. I don't have any notes written down other than that I played like ass in this match, so maybe it was winnable, but yeah, we do lose to Branded, unfortunately. Round 5, we win the dice roll against Eldelich Odeon. Going first, I rip a card with Omega and see Solemn Judgment, so either they've forgotten to unside or they're playing a trap kind of stun deck. Honestly, thank God we won this dice roll, bro. We rip another 2 cards from their hand and win game 1. Game 2, all I have for this matchup is like Lightning Storm and Feather Duster, and they search for Lord of Heavenly Prison with the Gallant Granite, which they can then use to set a floodgate on my turn, which they can then activate thanks to Temple of the Kings. So yeah, it's fair to say we lost game 2. However, game 3, we're going first against the trap deck. We're feeling good. We hand rip 3. It's GG. This takes us to round 6 and our third Branded matchup, where we once again lose the dice roll. We have an absolutely insane game 1, which lasts around like 30 minutes, where we eventually finally pull ahead and get the win. There was actually a funny moment in this match where our silly little super rare Peacock attacks into a big scary overframe Mirror Jade, and then we banish it face down with the Terminus effect. Going into game 2, it's a bit of a weird situation because it starts with like 18 minutes left on the clock, and we let our opponent play out their turn. As we try and play into the board, it becomes unclear who's actually going to win this game. If we get into a grind game and then end up losing that grind game, we're not going to have time to play out game 3, and then it's going to be just a double loss. I'm pretty confident that going first against Branded is basically a guaranteed win, so instead of taking the risk on game 2, I scoop with 13 minutes on the clock. The only thing I really need to be wary of going first is like a potential Dominus Spark, so I set up an early Dawn Dragster, and then we do the hand drip combo, and thankfully it was GG's. Round 7, we find ourselves against our first Sky Strikers opponent, and we lose the dice roll. Unfortunately, game 1, our hand is just complete ass against full striker combo, so we do lose, but game 2, it's another board breaker deck. It's a free matchup, man. Going first, we just hand rip GG. Game 3, my only interruption is Ghost Bell, and that gets hit with Called by the Grave. My opponent makes a small mistake where they start with an early linkage into 0 to get their plays going, and then they play their turn with the intention of summoning another 0 off of another linkage towards the end, forgetting that they already summoned 0. I can't remember the exact details, but we are able to just gas through the board and take the win. Round 8, we're at the second last round of the day. Fatigue is starting to kick in. We're getting a little hungry, tired, etc, etc, and we win the dice roll against another Cooltoon matchup. It's a standard game. We go first, we win, we go second, we lose, and then it gets to the game 3, where we have our first actual fumble of the tournament. So we're going first, and we draw our opening hand, which is called by Magna, Welcome Home, Vision, and Ash. This is literally And FTK, right? How could you possibly lose? We have Ash for Fuwa, Called By for any hand traps, 2 pushes, and then Magna for additional non-engine. I'm looking at this hand, I'm like, okay, the only thing I have to worry about is a potential Harmonia. So we're going to summon to the middle column as much as we possibly can. Welcome Home will give it protection. So we start here with Welcome Home, and I go Welcome Home effect, Pitch the Vision Resonator. We summon Regina to the central zone, and we go Chain 1 Regina, Chain 2 Vision. Regina gets hit with an Imperm. I'm like, okay, it's a little unusual for Cooltoon to be playing Imperm. I've seen it in a few lists, but generally pretty unusual. So we resolve Vision, adding the Crimson Gaia. This is still absolutely fine. We still have another full combo push here. We activate the Crimson Gaia and its effect to search for the Darkness Resonator. We go Effect of Darkness to Special Summon and Effect to make itself level 1, and then we Synchro into the Crimson Blade Dragon. We go Chainlink 1 Crimson Blade, Chainlink 2 Regina to come back to hand, and we get hit with a second Imperm. I never could have seen a double Imperm coming. I could have played it differently, probably by summoning the Elf Note Power Patron from the deck. That would give us maybe an additional push by just straight up Synchro Summoning with the Magna. But at this point, I felt pretty cooked. So what I did was I just summoned the Magna by banishing the Darkness, searched Harmonia in the end phase, and passed turn after setting the Called By, and we lost to 4 engine cards. Even if we didn't play it differently, and we continued from the point where we got double impermed, here's what we should have done. We should normal summon the Ash Blossom, this is still engraved by the way, synchro with the Crimson Blade into Dispatter, activate the effect of Magna, banishing Vision from grave, special summon itself, effect on summon, then go Dispatter effect, summon back the Vision, and synchro with the Magna into Omega. This clears up the central zone for Regina. It gives us a monster negate on Dispatter, lets us take a 3rd card out of our opponent's hand with the Omega because they've already used 2 Imperm, and then of course we would have Harmonia in the end phase as well, alongside the set Called by the Grave. So our opponent has 3 cards in hand. In their draw phase, we can activate Regina, sending Welcome Home. Regina can bring out the Tanea to swap zones and put our opponent down to 2 cards against a Negate, a Called By, and a Harmonia. So this game was absolutely thrown away. I think I was just comfortable enough with the interruptions I had that I felt pretty safe. Turns out I was wrong, and we got a big fat L because of it, man. So unfortunate. So we're now 5-3 going into the final round of the day. To qualify for day 2, you need to be in the top 256. If we lose this one, I don't actually mind because it means we can move on to plan B, where we play the giant card on the Sunday morning. However, if we win this one, we're still in contention for top 32 and therefore top 64 and top 128. Anyway, we win the dice roll against Branded Elf Note, our first Elf Note opponent of the tournament. I gotta say, this was my favorite match of the entire weekend as well because it was so fucking funny. He's like reading all of my Elf Note cards as I'm comboing, and it's fine, we don't really get stopped. We're able to set up our Elf Note combo, and then he starts by special summoning Incredible Ecclesia and activating her effect. We do negate it with Crystal Wing because otherwise he's able to summon the Albaz, which can then just contact fuse with the Crystal Wing anyway. He then special summons Lucina, and I'm like, brother, what were you reading? But yeah, we Ash his Lucina, and then it's pretty much game from there. Game 2, we're able to hand trap him out of the game. However, he does hit us with a mistake and a rest, and then that kind of turns off both of our plays for the next like 4 turns because he has another mistake and a rest, and then we get in a top deck war. We're just like setting and passing 4 or 5 turns in a row in the final round of the tournament. It was just so goddamn funny. But yeah, we did end up winning that one 2-0, giving us a 6-3 record, qualifying for day 2 and potential to get that top 32. Alright, day 2 of Nationals, it all comes down to this. We went down as a group of 11. Unfortunately, the majority of our group had a rough main event, so it's just me and Kirk left standing, and therefore only a couple of us going in early on the Sunday morning. Plan B and C are still there for us to fall back on as well. Round 10 of the main event starts at 9 AM on the Sunday, the Giant card starts at 10 AM, and then I think the Genesis Challenge starts at 11. So if we lose round 10, we can do the Giant card, or if we win round 10, and lose round 11, we can do the Genesis, but if we win both of those rounds, Plan B and C are out of the window. At that point, we just gotta win it out and go for the top 32, you know? So round 10, I was hoping my opponent would sleep in and not show up, but no, we're against Train FTK, and thankfully, we win the dice roll. Game 1, we get hit with Droll and Lockbird, but we are still able to just full combo through it and rip 3 more cards out of their hand. Easy game 1. Game 2, they're going first, and they just set 2 pass. It turns out, they sided out one of their 2 urgent schedules, and then they opened both urgent schedule and accepted exceptional schedule. Unlucky, bro. We once again combo through Droll and take it 2-0, which means we now can't do the giant card event, which I was kind of hoping to do with Centurion Red Dragon Archfiend, unfortunately. Round 11, we win the dice roll against Branded Draco Tail. They do hit us with a Fuwalos, but we have the Ash Blossom, baby. I get to Omega, and he lets it resolve, and we banish an Urgula from their hand, and then as soon as he realizes we're just going to summon it back with Dispatter, he scoops. Game 2, we open both Duster and Lightning Storm, so we are able to clear the back row through a Draco Tail Flame. However, the engine that we open just isn't good enough to push through the rest of the interruptions. Game 3, we once again get hit with a Fuwalos, but this time we have the Called by the Grave and FTK. What do you want me to say, man? I know it's cringe. Ban Omega. Round 12, we now have an 8-3 record, and we are well on our way to getting that top 32. We just need 3 more wins, baby. We get paired against our first Radiant Typhoon opponent, and we lose the dice roll. Even this deck is resorting to hand drips through Enter Blathnir, man. What is going on? Harmonia was the only non-engine I seen, which doesn't really stop them, but it does kind of put them on a weaker board. Unfortunately, the Enter Blathnir ripped my strongest starter, so I didn't have the gas to win. I think if they ripped any other cards, the game was winnable. Game 2, once again, Radiant Typhoon is another board breaker deck, so we're able to just set up our hand loop combo, give them a taste of their own medicine, and take that game for free. Game 3, I was really hoping to see like a Perulia or something, but no, Harmonia and Fallen into Virtuous are our only non-engine, so we're not really able to stop them, and once again, it's the same as game 1, our engine just isn't good enough to push through their interruptions. Losing this round specifically was the situation I dreaded most, because we can no longer fall back on the giant card or the Genesis event, and we can no longer get top 32. We can still get top 128 for additional prizing, and we can even still get top 64, which arguably isn't a top, but it's still pretty good, and I mean, there's nothing else to do except silly little side events, so we might as well. Round 13, second last round of the event, we lose the dice roll to Orcust Mitsurugi. This was a really fun match against Nolan. I can't really remember game 1 or game 2, but game 3 was actually ridiculous. We both had some really swingy turns where I would break his board, build a half board, then he would break my board, and then build a half board, then I would break his boards, and it was getting really close to time. Nolan ended up conceding just as the timer went because I had the board presence at the time, but honestly, I think there was still a couple more swingy back and forth turns ahead of us, so if we got to play it out, it probably could have been anyone's game. Round 14, the final round of the event. If we win this round, there's a decent chance that we get top 64. At this point, even if we lose, I think we're basically confirmed for a top 128, so either way, we're happy with our results. The final boss of our event is a third Cool Toon matchup, but we do win the dice roll, so hope is not lost. It's a pretty standard match. We go first game 1 and we win, we go second game 2 and we lose, and it all comes down to the game 3. The final game of the entire tournament, game 3, we are going first. We open a Forbidden Crown, Lucina, Etherealize, Ash Blossom, and a second Lucina. What I do here is special summon the Lucina, and then I activate the effect of Lucina to search for the Elf Note Power Patron. We then get hit with a Droll and Lockbird. So I think immediately we've probably played this wrong, right? We could have either started with the Etherealize, we could have searched Regina because we have Ash for Fuwalos, but yeah, we're still kind of okay. I then activate the effect of Etherealize, sending Medius to grave. I check their top deck and it is a Fallen in the Virtuous. I'm like, okay, through Droll, that's really gonna hurt, so I put that to the bottom. I then go effect of Medius, shuffling back the second Lucina to special summon itself, and a Medius effect gets hit with an Effect Veiler, which also shuts down a lot of our synchro plays. We have Ash plus Crown. We're able to make one synchro with our Power Patron. So I normal summon the Elf Note Power Patron, I synchro with the Lucina into a Strelitzia. I go Strelitzia effect, summoning back the Power Patron. And what I end up doing is making a Crystal Wing, realizing that if we are able to stop our opponent, we have literally zero follow-up here, but surely Crystal Wing Ash plus Crown is enough to just stop Cool Toon, right? Well, they draw for turn. In the standby phase, they go Fallen into Virtuous, pop the Crystal Wing, and they then play through Ash plus Crown with 3 engine cards. So I think I played it pretty poorly. I think because we had Ash in hand, we didn't have to be scared of Fuwalos, so instead of searching the Power Patron, we should have searched for Regina, which maybe looks something like this. So once again, let's say we special summon Lucina, we go Lucina effect, we search for Regina, where we then get hit with the Droll and Lockbird. We go Regina effect, pitch Lucina to special summon. Regina effect. This probably gets hit with the effect veiler, right? So now we can play with our Theorealize, sending Medius, putting Fallen into Virtuous to the bottom, then go effect on Medius, shuffling back Lucina. Medius effect will resolve, summoning the Power Patron. We could then synchro the Power Patron with the Regina into Strelitzia. Regina effect comes back to hand. We go Strelitzia effect, summon back the Power Patron. Peacock effect to level up, and synchro into the Axel, who brings back the Power Patron. I think something like this is a lot more winnable because it doesn't immediately lose to Fallen into Virtuous. We're still going to be able to put up an interruption with the Regina, the Ash, and the Crown. So if we'd played it like this, we probably would have had a better shot at winning and therefore potentially getting to the top 64, which is very unfortunate with it being the last round of the day, but you know, it happens. It happens. You live and you learn. So in the end, we finished with a 9-5 record, which on paper, I'm a little disappointed with. It's not that great. However, because we did manage to last all 14 rounds and make it to the end of the tournament, we finished 104th, beating out 1,306 other duelists thanks to the Crimson King. This is, of course, top 128, qualifying us for that additional prizing, where we get ourselves the Fairy Tale Nationals mat and a pack of Nationals sleeves. So technically, you could say we topped in quotation marks with Red Dragon Archfiend also in quotation marks. That title would make so many people mad, oh my god. As always, a super fun event. It's been a while since the last one, so it was really good to get out and play some competitive cardboard again. Shout out to all of my opponents, everyone was super chill, and honestly just shout out to everyone that came up to me. There were so many Red Dragon Archfiends and Crimson Kings that got signed in. Again, everyone was just super cool. Shout out to Reese specifically for giving me a free Starlight stand-up Centurion, which went straight in my Centurion Red Dragon Archfiend deck. Shout out to Shamim for lending me Forbidden Crowns. Shout out to Ethan for lending me the Ecclesia Synchro. Just shout out all Yu-Gi-Oh players, you know, dude. Now that was the largest event in the UK. It's now time to prepare for the largest event in Europe. And this time, we're taking a proper Red Dragon Archfiend deck. See you in Brussels, baby. All hail the Crimson King.